We really went into this house wanting it to have a lot of personality, and we both have kind of eccentric parts, our personalities that we don't necessarily display in other areas of our life. And so I think Matt and I's quirkiness both really comes through in our home design and decor.
Hi, I'm Matt.
And I'm Beau.
And this is our renovation story in New Orleans, Louisiana.
So we run the blog Probably This. We have done that since 2014. I started it in college and it became our baby. And we cover all things from home decorating and DIY to also food and recipes and entertaining. It's just both of our passions combined. My big part in the blog is in the visuals. So I am a photographer and I also do videography. And I kind of went into designing this house with, whether I wanted to or not, with the camera in my mind and really wanting to capture really beautiful moments that I think translated really well to what it's like to be in the home itself.
You know, originally we were looking for something a little newer than this is, but when we toured this home, we saw that it was this beautiful old home that had actually had a really terrible renovation done to it in probably the early 2000s, and we felt this like moral obligation to like save this home from like the cheap renovation that had been done to it before.
The house looked like every decision that had been done was made as a utility. Everything was done just to be the most cost efficient and to work for whoever was living here at the time, and it did that. For us, like Matt was saying, we kind of felt like we would be able to undo a little bit of that and bring the home back to its original glory and also add to that. I fell in love with the idea of architectural delineation, which was a Victorian approach to design where when you enter a home, you're supposed to have like the most dramatic moments, the most dramatic moldings, the tallest footboards. And as you get through the home, it gets simpler and simpler, eventually towards what would have been the living quarters or the sleeping quarters or the kitchen, where it would be very bare bones. Obviously, we don't live like that today, but I kind of wanted to take some notes from that and make the entry to the home kind of this big moment. So we're in our living room, which is the first room you walk into in our home, and one of the things that we really wanted to do was have a visual impact early on. So we built this arch in just to kind of immediately frame the rest of the house and to act as a passageway into the rest of our home.
And this room sort of serves as something of a formal living room, but it also frames what we think is probably what we like to think of as the most visually stunning room in the house, the kitchen. So we love that this archway is sort of like just a frame for this beautiful Viola Calcutta marble backsplash.
In a lot of older homes, the rooms can be smaller and more closed off, and we wanted to try and make it to where they could be as open as possible while still maintaining that like traditional individuality of each space.
So this is our study, and a fun story about this room is it's sort of like a twin sister to the living room. Beau and I wanted to each take one. Beau designed the living room, I designed the study, and we wanted them to be complementary, but contrasting. They have matching picture frame molding, matching crown molding. The colors are of the walls are completely different, but we wanted pink to be an accent for both rooms. So we've got matching drapes in each of the rooms as well. The shelves behind me, that was my first big DIY project in this house. I'm really happy with how they came out. I think they were pretty good for a first project.
You know, one thing that I think Matt is really excellent at is not letting a ceiling be bare. Like, we don't really do a white ceiling typically if the room's not that color. And so we wanted to make sure that with these 11.5, 12-foot ceilings, your eye was continually being drawn up.
One of the weirdest design choices that I think we made in the entire house was putting this plaid wallpaper on the ceiling. But this sort of like purple accent in this navy blue room, you know, it felt like the final touch that was going to make this feel just like an old-timey, like cigar smoking, like study. And I'm really happy with how it, you know, worked out.
So we added medallions throughout the house, and in this room we did one the same color as the wall. We just thought it was a really gorgeous, ornate touch that tied into the crown molding really well. And the light fixture, the chandelier, is also Sazerac stitches. She's got a really beautiful collection of brass pieces, and so we actually used her work in a lot of the home.
The color on the wall is called Rainstorm by Sherwin-Williams. And I had just always had a dream of having a navy blue room. I believe that a dark room is perfect for a study. I really love just the feeling of being just in a cozy, sort of like dark space to read and write. And we found this color and I just felt like it was perfect. We definitely think about how each room plays into the next. While we want them all to have distinct styles, there's a certain like texture to, I guess, like how the colors are playing with each other. So we wanted them to be complementary. And whenever there were rooms that sort of bled into each other, they really needed to be complementary to where, you know, if you were seeing them at the same time, it wouldn't, you know, stand out. So this is what we call our floral den. This room, really, the name of the game was patterns, patterns, patterns. We really wanted to go all out with overwhelming people who walked into this room with always something to look at.
The color on the ceiling in the room that we're in is Rose Dust by Sherwin-Williams, and I wanted to use that color for many, many years, and actually could not convince you to let me paint an entire room that color, so that's why it's just the trim and the ceiling in this room. But I had just seen it online, and I'd seen it in a few homes, and I was like, I want to use this color somewhere. And it's very bubblegum. It's a bit much, but I love how we used it in here.
Me too, I love it.
The wallpaper actually is made by a couple in the UK. Their company is called Divine Savages, and we were just excited to work with them to create this space because I love their work so much. Another favorite find of ours is this vintage sofa that we found at a consignment shop in New Orleans called Merchant House. We actually bought this just to use on the cover of our book Housewarming. We wanted something green and floral and with like age and character, and never really knew what we were going to do with it after that. And so it has just kind of been thrown into this room a little bit haphazardly, but we love it. We think it's really fun, and I am just really grateful to this sofa for all of the things it has brought us.
The boldest design choice in the house, either the wallpaper behind me or possibly, I think, the kitchen. We went pink for the kitchen with purple and brown marble countertops. I think that we ultimately decided that the house, since it was so loud and colorful already, it really just needed like an exclamation point at the end that was, you know, we're going for it. Here's a pink kitchen.
The most important part of this kitchen design process was making sure that it really tied the house together because it was our last and most recent renovation in the home. After we had added color throughout the entire house and a lot of really ornate details, it was time to figure out the kitchen, and we knew we wanted it to be like the exclamation point, like Matt says, or the cherry on top to the entire house. And the actual design for the kitchen all started with this marble. So this is a Calcutta Viola marble, which has the purple veining, brown veining, and some pink undertones.
The color that we ended up choosing for the cabinets is Roycroft Rose by Sherwin-Williams. This space just really called for more light, so we wanted a big, wide window. The lighting that we added here, these are from Rejuvenation.
The sink and the sink hardware are both from Signature Hardware. We used their hardware in the kitchen and also all the bathrooms here. So when we moved into this home, the brick on this fireplace was painted a color we called low-fat chocolate pudding brown. It was like probably the least appetizing color you could imagine painting anything, and we immediately were like, that's going to need to change. It is the original brick from the 1800s, and to me, having that be covered was like, gut-wrenching. So it was worth it, and I'm so proud of it. I'm so proud of all the fireplaces in here because they were literally not even visible when we moved in. And then on the floor we also have bricks that are actually from our backyards. The bricks here are from Laurel, Mississippi, and they're stamped. They used to stamp them with the location it came from, so we had a brick that had the stamp really still intact from like, I think it would have been late 1800s, early 1900s. It just said Laurel. So I actually relayed these bricks. There were not bricks at this level. They were a level deeper. And I relayed these bricks and put the Laurel one right in the center just because I think it's a really great nod to materials that had been with the home for a really long time.
We are vintage shopaholics. If I see a piece of art that I love and it is like reasonably priced, I'm getting it and I'm putting it in storage, and then it's probably going to come out later. So particularly with art, like I'm always looking for stuff that looks cool, that's not like terribly expensive. Then we can kind of like go shopping in our attic to like put together a gallery wall and see like what works together. So this originally was listed as a bedroom when we bought the house. It was definitely not going to be able to stay a bedroom. So when we renovated it, we knew we needed to turn it into something of a transitional space. Essentially, we've turned it into a hallway / a final look room, you know, checking yourself out in the mirror on your way down from the primary bedroom and heading into the rest of the house.
My favorite piece in the entire house, art-wise, is this painting by our friend Chris, aka Cubs the Poet. He's a fantastic local New Orleans poet and artist, and Matt has loved his work for a long time, as have I. So for Matt's 32nd birthday, I got him this piece, and I unveiled it. It was dramatic and everything, and he loves it, and I think it's just a really fun, like, eccentric nod to our friend and to the city, and I love the color story that the red and the like kind of seafoam blue make together. The hardest part to me of the renovation journey for this house in particular was just living here during it. We did it really room by room, which allowed us to have a really personal touch on every space. We had eyes on everything, but 18 months in, I could still hear the hammers and drills and nail guns. It's something I'll probably never recover from. So Matt really constructed this entire room. It was basically empty before, and he built the bunk beds, the stairs to the bunk beds, and the bookshelves, and I think he did a really fantastic job.
Now we're at sort of the most farmhousey, rustic architecture of the house. This room was really an excuse for us to put all kind of just stupid fun stuff in, like the mushroom wallpaper. There's a piece of bubblegum art. There are pictures of horses. There's a map of the Audubon Zoo.
We definitely love when the kids in our lives come because they always just hang out in here. They like love the bunk beds. It's really, really cute.
Yeah.
And we actually found this piece, this illustration of Audubon Zoo at an estate sale at a home in Algiers Point. I thought it was super cool. I love the colors. It's just like a really sweet piece. And again, to have found it at someone's house in this neighborhood is just, I think, really cool. So this actually originally would have been the kitchen for the entire house. At the very back of the house in old shotgun homes, they usually had the kitchen. It was a coal-fired kitchen, and when we went to expose the ceiling that you see, which would be everything above the beams, we took down the ceiling, and about 60 years of coal dust fell onto us and everything else. So that was disgusting. So after we cleaned all that up, we decided to leave the exposed beams because it's really just, we think, beautiful old wood, and to just add some paneling in and paint it this Grecian ivory color, which is also from Sherwin-Williams. Kind of keeping it really simple, muted, and I will always choose to show like what I think is beautiful old wood, no matter what. Adding to the bedroom, we have this little sunburst face decor, which is by Justina Blakeney's shop, The Jungalow. I love all of their work, and I needed to have a piece of it in our home, so we went with this piece, and I think it's just really cute. So this is our backyard, and in my opinion, actually is one of the coolest before and after transformations that we did in the entire home.
This is our sunbrella retractable awning. This is such an incredible touch, and the fabric that we chose was sort of a nod to Café du Monde, which you can call it cheesy, but I think we love it. The backyard is like very, very handmade, and I'm so proud of how it looks. I just think it's so charming back there. So this is our potting shed. Beau was very interested in gardening, and I wanted to build a space that he could do all of his little gardening experiments, potting and propagating and all of those different things that you get up to.
I love having this space to myself. It's really a great little outdoor spot for me to hang out and leave him alone during the day, and it works well for both of us.
When people first walk in, I really hope that they are, stunned, maybe take a deep breath, but also feel really comfortable. I think think that we were hoping to achieve something that was very, like sensory overload, but also felt comfortable, lived in, like you're visiting your quirky grandma's house a little bit. And I think that we achieved that.
Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to HGTV Handmade for more before and afters like this.